Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. On this dull and cloudy day, I thought I'd start off with a splash of color. I'm out here with my friend Robin. Hi Robin, say hello. Oh, so cute. I'll take you on a tour of all my flowering bonsai. The star of the show today is my hibiscus bonsai, and the first flower is out in bloom and it's just looking fantastic. Nice color, beautiful flower. Here's the base of it. We go up and we go up into the upper branch structure, and then it further ramifies. So I've been letting it grow to get the flowers. You can see how the shoots have extended here, and at the tip of every shoot I've got 2 flower buds there, 1 down here, 1 over here, 3 on this one, a couple over here. So I counted them. There's about 16 total on the whole plant, which is just amazing. These flowers only last for a day, maybe 2, and then they kind of fade away and fall off. So it means, you know, probably for the rest of August I'll have flowers on my hibiscus. And sometimes I've had 3 at once. That's been the most flowers I've had on the bonsai at once. I've never had like 4 or 5 or anything. They seem to take turns. So, you know, one day one will bloom and then the next day another one, and just continuous. It's fantastic. Robin's taking a rest up there. You okay there, Robin? Yeah. Hi, Robin. You just take it easy up there, my friend. The next flowers we'll look at are on my Natal plum, and these were cuttings that Hong gave me a long time ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I planted them as cuttings and they flowered the first year. So it was just amazing, and they flowered every year since, and they're beautiful fragrant flowers. So I've got more buds coming all over this. So this is I think there's, you know, maybe 7 or 8 cuttings in this pot. Yeah, I'm just letting them grow, and they thicken up slowly over the years, and then you can prune them and make them into a bonsai. Next we'll look at my nightshade vine. This is just a common weed around here, and it's flowering too. And these flowers attract a lot of native bees, the mason bees. So it's kind of nice. It's nice to have something that helps the nature out a bit. And there's Julian's bougainvillea. It's been flowering all summer. Still looking good. My pink pixie bougainvillea. Got some nice flowers on it. Looking good. Way back here I have my geranium, which the flowers are just fading away on that. That's been flowering all summer too. Then I got my crown of thorns down here, and it's got a crown of flowers today, and they last all summer. It starts flowering about midsummer, and it just keeps going right till fall. Looks really good with the flowers on it. Way back in here I have a sarissa, and it's just starting to flower again. It had a lot of flowers in spring, and it's got these beautiful flowers that come out on it. They're kind of a pinkish color with some stripes in them. The flowers on it now aren't that colorful, but they do get quite colorful. And the last plant, I have my leopard plant that Noah gave me back here, and it's got a little flower on it here, if you can see it down there. They're kind of insignificant, but you know, they're still there. Kind of cool. Yeah, so that's all my flowering bonsai on the bench, adding a bit of color to a cloudy day. And Robin, you add a bit of color to a cloudy day too. Hey? Yes, you're always very colorful. I've got to decide what bonsai I'm going to be working on today, and I'm thinking my aloe bonsai. We haven't worked on that in a long time, and it's getting really bushy and needs some tidying up. Here's a view of my aloe, and kind of looks like my hair. Let's go in and have a look at the aloe now. So here it is. It's getting really large, if you see my hand. I put it in this larger pot, and it's filling out quite nicely in this pot. You can see all the multiple trunks in here and aerial roots. There's another few more that are going to touch the ground soon over in there. Yeah, so today I want to clean it up. You can see there's a lot of leaves that are kind of overhanging the pot. And I want to be able to see some of that trunk structure. So yeah, I just want to kind of clean it up. So I'll keep leaves at the growing tips of the plant, but I'll remove all the older leaves and we'll see how it looks. I'm going to use a pair of scissors and come in and remove all the older leaves. So here I go. I'll start down low here and just cut off the older leaves here. You can pull them off also, but I don't want to like damage anything in the plant here. There's aerial roots here, and so I want to be really careful. You can see all the aerial roots forming. That's amazing. Okay, I'll get this one that's up here. So some of these leaves are a bit discolored. You can see that one. Got a bit of sunburn from spring. I can see there's new shoots coming off the trunks here. There's a green shoot in there. I'll try and get you a close-up of that, and that'll become a new branch eventually. Right on that trunk, and it's right here. There's a little green shoot coming out there. Yeah, so that'll turn into a new branch, or pup, they call them. Very cool. As the leaves get older, they start getting a little soft. Like here's one that's quite soft, and eventually they kind of discolor and go mushy. It could rain any second. The dark clouds are starting to roll in, so I'll do what I can. I might have to brake for the rain. Here's a look at the dark clouds. Yeah, they're rolling in. There's another one here. Any leaf pointing in towards the center of the tree I'll remove also, just to clean it up a bit. I'll take these off. I water it when the soil dries out thoroughly. So when I notice the soil looking really dry, then I water it. But the rest of the time I just mist it, probably 2 or 3 times a day. Now I've still got this leaf's hanging down here, so I'll get rid of that. I got lots of nice leaves up top here. Get rid of this one here too. Like that. Gives that one room. And I've got one hanging down here I'll get rid of. That's got a lot of the lower leaves pruned off, so you can see kind of the trunk structure. And you can see the woody part of the trunk here. And I think I should clear away some of this moss and soil to expose a little more of the woody trunk. There's a look at the amount of leaves I took off today. Quite a bit, and you can see it's kind of yellowy, this pile, if I compare it to the aloe plant, which is a much darker green. Let's go in now and look at that base. So here I am. So you can see this is all woody trunk in there. Lots of aerial roots. I'll rotate the tree around. You can see new aerial roots forming in here. You can see all the aerial roots cascading down from the branches up here. Looking really cool. I'll go around here, and you can see all the aerial roots in this area. And they're really coming from quite high up on the branches too. Yeah, it really gives a nice appearance to the Aloe Bonsai. Makes it look very exotic. I'm looking at the base of the trunk now, and I'm just trying to see what's trunk and what's moss, and figure out what's going on with this bonsai. Looks like we've got lots of aerial roots growing in the moss. Kind of cool. I'll just give it a spray. I'll come in with my toothbrush and try and clean this up a bit. That was a dead aerial root hanging in midair there. So you can see the base to this aloe is getting quite wide. These trunks on the aloes do eventually get quite woody. They get bark on them and everything. So that's something I can look forward to as this aloe gets older. Looks like the pot's full of roots. I can see roots all throughout the soil here. My aloe bonsai is an example of going with the flow of the tree. When I first planted this aloe, I was going to grow it as a single trunk, a tall kind of vertical tree, and then start forming a canopy on the top. And the aloe had different ideas. It started growing all these lower branches and aerial roots. And instead of pruning them off, I went with the natural design of the tree, or how the tree wanted to grow naturally, and I'm glad I did. It's really interesting now, and it's one of my favorite unusual bonsai. I think it doesn't fit in the classical definition of bonsai, but for me it is a true bonsai. It has a woody trunk, it has a branch structure and a canopy, so for me I would call this a bonsai. I'll give my aloe a final misting and put it back in the greenhouse. And I use rainwater on it. That way it keeps the leaves looking really nice. That's all the work I'll be doing on my aloe bonsai for today. I'm trying to imagine what this will look like in, 5, 10, 15 years from now. I think it'll be quite unusual, but I think it'll also be quite spectacular. The next bonsai I'll be working on today is this jade plant. It was sent to me all the way from Sheffield, England by Scott Winard from Let's Do Bonsai. So let's do bonsai. I'm looking at the jade plant now, and one of the things I really like on it, it has a nice vertical straight trunk. So I think that's one of the features of the tree I want to bring out, is that it has this perfectly straight trunk. So I want to plant it vertically in the pot, and I think the rest of it is quite nice. All those new branches down below here, they have come out since the tree got here in Canada, so they're new additions. And I have to decide, do I want to keep them or not? Or do I want this beautiful scar-free trunk? I'm thinking I want the beautiful scar-free trunk on it. I want to pick out a nice pot for this jade bonsai. And the pot size is fairly critical on these jades. If you put too much pot and too much soil, the soil stays wet for too long. It doesn't dry out because the roots aren't all into the soil. So you want a pot that's just a little bit bigger than your root ball or your root base. So, if you have a new cutting with just a few roots, you'll want it in a very small pot so the soil dries out. If you've got a large mature jade and it has, quite a pad of roots underneath it, then you can use a larger pot and it'll dry that soil out daily or every second day. You don't want it sitting in soil, staying wet all the time. That's a death sentence for these succulent bonsai. I've got two possible pots here to plant the jade in. And the first one we'll look at, this is an unglazed pot. So it's just raw clay. And that wicks away moisture from the soil. So it's really good for succulents. The disadvantage of this pot is it's very shallow. So a taller pot is better because the water drains through the soil faster. So I'm not going to use this one. It's a beautiful pot, but it's just too shallow. This pot is a little taller, which is nice. It's unglazed on the inside and the bottom, but it has a glaze on the outside, which isn't quite as desirable. However, it does have a lip on the inside, and that, once the roots start growing and fill the pot, the tree will get heavy up top and it'll want to tip over. And if you have a lip on the inside of the pot here, it stops the plant from tipping over. So On a succulent, a heavy succulent like a jade, you'll want a lip on the inside of the pot, and that makes it very stable so it won't tip over. I've got a rock sitting on top of this pot to stop it tipping over. And Scott sends a lot of these jades out to people. You can see it's got a sticker on it, grown by Let's Do Bonsai. Really cool. So I'm going to get the tree out of the pot. I don't know if it's wired in. It doesn't look like it is, so I'll try and pull it out. Just like that. And we'll have a look at the roots. I'm going to start by raking out the roots. These little balls, they're just styrofoam packing balls. They're not fertilizer or anything. The whole tree was kind of filled with these little balls to protect it in shipping. They did a good job, but they're really hard to clean up. So whatever soil Scott's using here has gone a little mushy. You can see it in here. So we'll get it in a my usual soil, perlite and turfus mix. So I think the first thing I'll need to do is wash the roots. It looks like they're close to rotting. You can see this pad of roots is not doing so well. So I think the new soil will really help it. This stuff's just, yeah, it's starting to decompose and go mushy. Okay, I'll try washing the roots. Here's a look at the root base on the jade, and you can see there's several layers of roots. There's surface roots up here, and then more roots down lower. And you can see the base of the cutting here. So I'm going to plant it at the same height it was in the pot. So these will be my surface roots here. And these will just exist down below. And I think, yeah, there's lots of height in the pot to plant it at that height. So that's good. I may have to anchor it in the pot, I'll see. I may be able to place stones around it, or you can always wire them into the pot. If you wrap wire around the trunk, it kind of anchors them into the pot. So I'll see. I'll have to take some weight off the top, of course. It's getting quite top heavy and it'll just want to tip over. So let's start by pruning the top of the tree. I decided that I didn't want these lower branches. I just want a nice, plain, simple trunk, so I'll get rid of those. And the idea is to make this trunk as scar-free as possible. So I'll show you what I'll do to it to get rid of as many blemishes in this trunk as we can to make it smooth. Well, you can get rid of this one. So the first step is to cut it off flush. So here's a bump sticking out of the trunk. So I'll come in like that. I'll do that for all the bumps on the trunk where there was branches previously. Pruning them all as flush as possible. That's quite good there. And then I'll come in and smooth them out with my fingernail. To smooth them out, I just take my fingernail and I just cut away the fleshy part, or scrape it away, until it's smooth and blends in with the trunk. And this technique works really well. I'll show you an example of one that's healed. So there. Just making this as flush and smooth with the rest of the trunk as possible. So I'll do the same here, just kind of curving my cut. And you can use a little blade to do this. You don't have to use your fingernail. Just something to make it nice and smooth with the trunk. Here's an example of a small jade of mine, and I removed a major branch from the back of it here, and I'll show you how that's healing. So I'll turn the tree around. And there it is. I did the exact same technique. I smoothed it with my fingernail to get it as smooth as possible to cut. And now you can see it's healed over, it's getting bark on it, and it's blending in really nicely with the rest of the trunk. The next step on the jade is to prune the top of the tree to take a bit of the weight off. I'll prune all the branches back to the first set of leaves. So here, there is a leaf down here, but I would consider this to be the first set. And come back to here, and here, and here. And we'll keep this one a little longer to there. That's got the weight off the top of the tree. So now we can plant it. The pot already has a screen in the bottom. You can see it there. So next I've got to pick the front of the tree. The tree comes up and divides into two, and then two again. So the natural flow line of the trunk is this branch here. It's the straightest, and this one is more of a branch. I'd say this is more of an extension of the trunk. So that's how I will do it. It's going to be planted vertical. So I've got the nicest roots on this side of the tree. I'm going to rotate it slightly. I think this view shows off these roots a little better. So I don't want it that low in the pot, so I want to bring it up a bit and then start filling it in with soil. So here I go. This soil is just half turfus and half perlite. It's a good free draining mix for these succulents. It looks like it's going to stay upright quite easily without any wires or supports. I noticed this soil does have a bit of pine bark, composted pine bark in it. It's not a brand new soil, it's slightly used. It was used to start seeds that didn't germinate, so it's never had anything growing in it, but it's not brand new. Okay, I'm going to check and see how the tree looks. Here's a look at the jade now. I think it's looking quite nice. It's offset in the pot, just a little bit off center. I've got the tree nice and vertical. I've got the branch structure arranged so it can develop in future and look even better. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to developing this tree. I really like jades. I think when they start getting old, and I'm talking 20, 30 years old, they start getting this really nice kind of silvery bark on them. And they just, I don't know, you can just tell an old jade tree. It just looks fantastic. A lot of people think of them as like a beginner bonsai. I wish people didn't say that all the time. Jades can be turned into a fantastic bonsai, just outstanding, able to sit alongside 100-year-old pine trees and look just as magnificent. I think every species of tree has its beauty, and the jades, they can have a lot. They can be just fantastic. The next question is, do I water my newly planted jade? And the answer is no, I don't. I want to leave the soil dry, but what I will do is mist the tree. And jades can absorb a bit of water through their leaves. Most desert plants can. It's best just to mist the tree, and that gives humidity and a bit of moisture in the soil, but not soaking wet. You want those roots to start growing and searching for moisture. So I keep my jades in the greenhouse. That gives them lots of humidity. The roots can grow, and it also protects them from the rain. If you give these jades too much rain, it'll rot the roots and the tree will die. So it's best to keep them under cover in the rain and keep them on a proper watering schedule where you let the soil dry out, then you water it thoroughly and let it dry out again and water it thoroughly. Rain can interrupt that, and sometimes it rains for 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row, and you'll start to get root rot. Your trunk will get soft and your tree will die. Here I go with the misting now. And that is it. The jade is planted. I want to thank Scott Winard for sending me this tree all the way from Sheffield, England. Wow. Scott also sent me another package, and I'll show you that. Not only did Scott send me a jade tree, but he also sent me a GoPro with all the accessories. There's a gimbal, the GoPro, and all the mounting accessories for helmets and selfie sticks and all that kind of stuff. So thanks very much, Scott. I'll try and put it to good use. My friend Tom from Chicago, Illinois, also sent me a package of goodies. Tom sent me the original baobab seeds that I germinated, and he sent me some more, so I'll try those. He also sent me 3 really cute little bunnies. I just love them. Those are definitely going under a bonsai tree. He also sent me this really cool black bear. So I'm going to put that in my wax myrtle planting instead of that kind of dinosaur I have, which doesn't look very good. He also sent me, so these are desk organizers. I'm not sure where they're from, but yeah, desk organizers, and they make really nice little bonsai pots. You just have to drill a hole in the bottom or melt a hole in the bottom, and they're perfect size for starting your bonsai trees. I also have a little man fishing and a bridge and some fish, so that's going to be really cool to add to a bonsai or a penjing in the future also. So thanks, Tom. I really appreciate it. Now, let's go try all this stuff out. When Tom sent me the package, I opened up the black bear last, and I'm really excited to get that into my wax myrtle planting. So let's do that first. Here's a look at the wax myrtle planting, and I kind of left a clearing in it because I always intended on putting a bear or something in the middle here. You know, a moose or a deer or something. And so now it's going to be a bear for sure. One thing I don't like about this planting is you can see all the way, the path just goes straight all the way to the back. It doesn't kind of wander enough. And if I rotate the planting over here, it improves it. It kind of makes it look like it wanders so you don't see straight through the pot. So I do have some more wax myrtles. I didn't use them all. And I think I'm going to plant them at the very back. So I have this clearing in the front, but it, you know, you don't see straight through to the back of the planting. So it's kind of got some bushes back there. So I'll do that first. Here's a look at the other wax myrtles I have. And I had them sitting on top of a tray of bonsai soil, and the roots grew through these starter pots here and into the tray of bonsai soil. And I wondered why they were growing so vigorously. I thought, boy, they're really growing. So that's why, is the roots escaped the pots and got some vigor to the trees. So I'll take my smallest one. I've got some small ones here, and pull those out, and I'll plant them in the back here. I think just the one group of myrtles here will fill in that space behind the trees there. I don't want it too dense back there, just enough to look like a bush. I'm just going to trim the roots a bit on these. I'm not going to separate them or comb the roots out. I'm just doing a simple planting. So there's my plug of trees, and I will prune them down. I don't want them, you know, tall in the back there. I want that forced perspective, so as you go back in the planting, the trees get shorter. So I'll just rough prune them for now, just pruning the tops off, and then when I plant them, I'll go in and do a more detailed prune to get them looking really good. All right, I'm going to plant these trees back here, so I'll dig out a hole for them. And I'm not going to put them exactly on center. I'll offset them a little. And I think they're going to go to this side over here, because this row of trees kind of comes in this way. So, and I want the front something like that. I've got the trees planted in the back there, and they look good. The next thing I want to do is I want to remove the lower leaves on these front trees, so you can kind of see in there. You know, a bush in nature, they lose all those lower leaves, and you get to see a bit of the trunk structure on them. So that's what I want to do, is remove all those lower leaves. All right, here I go. I'll start with this outer one here, and I'll just prune away. Here, Robin there. Hi, Robin. You coming over to see me? There's Robin come to see me. Hello, Robin. How are you? Hi. All right, let's get your food going here. Hold on here. Okay, Robin. There you go. Ooh, yum, yum. Yum, yum. There's more for you. Yeah. Robin is fed, and he's very happy once again. Or she. I finished removing the leaves on the front trees here. So I'm starting on this row, kind of in behind, working my way back in the planting. I found pulling the leaves off with tweezers is actually easier than going in with the scissors and cutting them. It's just really hard to get in there with the scissors. That's looking good. I think I'll leave the lower leaves on in the back here because, you know, I want that perspective. So, you know, the lowest leaves are fairly tall at the front, and then as you go back they get closer and closer to the ground. Also the tops of the trees are highest in the front, and they get smaller and smaller towards the back. Gives that forced perspective. So next I'm going to prune the top of the trees. The tops are already starting to get quite a few branches, so that's nice. I'll continue that trend of pruning them and getting more branches. I'm having a look from the front now, and it's not too bad. I've got to get those canopies shaped a little more. Yeah, that's much better. I've got the landscaping all done. I added some moss at the back of the planting, and the moss I originally put in, it was a hot, dry summer, and it turned quite brown, but it's starting to green up now, and I think it'll spread across the surface of the soil. So I'm just going to leave it as is for now, and I think it'll get better in the future. So now it's the moment I've been waiting for, and that's to add the bear. So here I go. All right, here we go with the bear. I'm going to put him somewhere in here. I don't want him too far forward and not too far back. Let me see how that looks. So that's a look at the bear in the landscape, and it's looking quite interesting. I really like the scene. I like having the bear and these waxed myrtles. I think it's a scene that'll just keep getting better as it matures in the future. So thanks, Tom. This is a wonderful gift, and I'm sure many people will see it at bonsai shows in the future. It's time now for today's updates. The first update for today is my Natal Ficus, and it's way back here. So let's pull it out and we'll have a look at it. So here's my Natal Ficus, and when we last left this tree, I was growing 2 leaders to try and kind of blend the existing trunk in with the new leaders. So I've been letting them grow, and you know, grow they have, and they're really thickening up. They're you can already see that the trunk, which was just chopped off here before, it was a straight cut across here. The new leaders are blending in really nicely with it. Not 100%. If you look back here, you can still see the original cut in there. So yeah, but from this view, they're blending in quite nicely. And I've got to do some cleanup work on it today. I want to get some style in this tree. I think this tree was originally intended to be a cascade style, and I'm turning it more into an upright banyan style tree or a broom style tree. Trying to anyway. So I think today I'm going to cut back these long leaders. The reason that I want to cut this ficus back now is that I want to get it more compact, get some branching happening around the cut points, and kind of fill it in so I can fit it indoors in the plant room for the winter. I want to pick a point somewhere along these leaders to cut them. I don't want them, you know, too long. I don't want these big long straight sections. So I'll have to cut them quite short. So I'm thinking this one right here. I've got a branch up here and one down here and one here. So maybe either here or maybe up here. Even here I've got one fanning out. So, but then, you know, my section's getting quite straight. I'll chop it here, and then I'll have a look at it. All right, so here I go. I'm going to cut it just above this leader here. Just like that. And then I've got to cut my one at the back here also. And there's no real branching facing outwards or anything, so this is going to be what I call a Hail Mary cut, where I just cut it off at the right length and see what happens. So here I go, right here. That's a big branch to cut off. So with just 2 cuts, the tree is already looking more miniature, more like a tree you'd see in nature. I'm going to put it on the turntable and we'll spin it around and see what else I can prune on it. Let's spin it around and have a look at it from all sides. There's a branch out the back here that I'll prune off. You can see it coming out from the base of the tree. So I'll get rid of that, like that. There's a big yellow leaf here. I'll remove that. Some spider webs. Another yellow leaf here. From the back branch here, I've got a whole bunch of little shoots coming out the bottom. And I don't want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches all growing from one place. So I'll remove all these little ones and just keep my main thick branch there. I've kept 2 there. I don't know if I should keep 2. I'm going to keep 2. I can always prune this one off later. It won't do any harm thickening up this area and helping to heal these wounds here. So on this branch that comes out the back, I've got 2 branches that are kind of growing in towards the center of the tree. I'll remove those. That one. And this one. Like that. And then I've got that branch comes up into a fork here, and I don't want the one that's kind of growing upright. I want the one that's spreading out. So I'll prune that upright part off like that. So all my branches are kind of fanning out from the center of the tree. There's a branch coming straight out the front here. I'll remove that one like that. I'm just going to prune the tips of some of these branches to get a little more branch division. Last time I worked on this tree, I repotted it, and I'm going to scrape away some of the surface soil and just see what the root base is looking like. It wasn't very good last time I worked on it, so I'm hoping it's starting to grow in and I'm starting to get the start of a radial root base. So let's go have a look at it now. Yeah, I think you can start to see it flaring out at the base down here, and that's, a characteristic of having a good radial root base, is you'll see your trunk starting to flare out at the base. It's nice and wide here, and then it tapers up. So that's coming along nicely. I'll cover it all back up. And I think this tree needs a watering. All right, here I go with the water now. Give it a nice thorough watering. Let that soak in for a bit. You can see it pooling up on the surface here because it was quite dry. Still pooled up here. That's soaked in now, so we'll give it another good watering. Let that soak in. It's coming out the drainage hole now. Give it another thorough soaking. And that's draining really nicely now. It's not pooling up in the corner here anymore. So that is thoroughly watered. I'll put my Natal Ficus back on the bench and we'll get out the second update for today. My second and last update for today is my Yellow Hibiscus bonsai, and it's getting flower buds. In the last video on this tree, I did the first steps of transforming this as a nursery plant into eventually a bonsai tree. So I did root pruning, I did top pruning, and now it's recovered and growing again, and it's getting its first flower buds. So you can see there's 2 here, there's a couple down here, there's 2 flower buds over here, 2 back here. So it's flowering all over. So this is going to look really nice in a little while when they come out. But you know what this tree needs? I think it needs bunnies. Definitely needs bunnies down here. And let's get Tom's bunnies and position them under the tree. There's a close-up of the little bunnies. So thanks, Tom. I really appreciated the gift, and I had a lot of fun placing the animals under the trees. And I think this tree also needs some water, so I'll do that. This tree is a long ways off of being like a show tree, but I'll keep working on it over the years, and hopefully it'll turn into something really nice. They're a fairly rare tree in these parts, so kind of special to have one as a bonsai, especially with rabbits under it. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone. I'll place it about here in the pot, and we'll start filling it in with soil. Something biting me here. Okay.
Ooh, yum yums. Pretty good, eh?